Hello everyone, welcome to Blue Dragon Actual. And today's topic is very interesting. That is when to start business. And recently I've got a lot of queries from people regarding they want to start trading or they want to maybe start their own fund, mutual fund, and they are asking me if I want to do that. What is my plan? And these are people who are very young, 21, 22 years of age. Some people have ideas and they are asking if I can fund them. So I thought this is a very good topic because people of this generation, they are lucky not to see a bad financial time because their parents have taken care of that, and now they are in a maybe a better shape than we were at their age, so that they can take a entrepreneurial maybe journey. And since I have just started, I thought why not kind of discuss this, and this will be a very interesting discussion because I have applied the actuarial concept or the risk management concept, because anything that I know about life, I try to relate that with actuary and a bit of psychology. And if we can do that, I think anything we can achieve in this world, and we can do it in a much more maybe riskless manner, right? Or maybe little bit of risk has to be taken, but maybe the risk can be mitigated, right? So with that, let us start this presentation, and I hope this will be a very interesting presentation for all of us. At the end of this presentation, of the last couple of slides, I have kept for what I have thought before starting my business, because I was in a high paying job and then I left that job. So was my thought process before I thought of kind of starting the business, right? So first thing that you need to understand, or maybe think upon before taking on any business, is whether you have another source of income, and this source of income is not your business income. This is a different source of income, right? So you are trying to establish a business, and that business will give you some income at some point of time. Obviously a business would have a break even period, right? So initially you would not expect the business to do very well. So there would be some time lag for your business to do well, and initially you might be testing the waters until unless you have experience of lot of business, running business, and you have been a serial entrepreneur. That is not something that I'm assuming here. So that's why you probably would have you need to have some other source of income, right? So the question that you should ask yourself is, do you have any other source of income? And it can be your family income, like maybe your father is in a business and you are helping your father in that business. You are getting some earning based on that, right? But you should need to have some income which is different from your business income, right? And that should be sufficient for your sustenance, right? And there are so many skills these days, right? You can, there is a platform called Fever. In Fever, you can do some freelancing work. If you have some skill set, you can edit videos, right? And you can YouTube. Like I have two YouTube channels, although I don't earn anything from those YouTube channels. Right? If you can dance, and once again, I have seen people who are dancing and they're putting those even 1 minute video on YouTube, and their channel is doing pretty well because everyone relates to dancing. If it's a niche topic, like for example, actually, it will take time to grow an YouTube channel. But if it is something which is kind of massy, right? Like if you are making comedy videos, if you are making maybe song or dance related videos, then you can do well in YouTube. So you need to have that other source of income, right? That is the most important one, other than the business. And your both this stream can be similar, right? Like I have a trading channel and I also have trading income, right? So because I have trading income, I can show that in that YouTube as a proof that yeah, I'm earning money, right? So that give me that credibility which others probably don't have, right? So that is important. So these two skills, the skill set can be similar, but how you can maybe leverage multiple source of income is what you need to think upon. And as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, you should think of multiple source of income because you have let go of the salary, right? So that's why you should think of multiple source of income, and that is what all the if you see the for the richest people in the world, the top 50 or top 100 or even anyone, right, who is kind of a millionaire or billionaire, they have multiple sources of income. They do not have one source of income. Of course, one income or two income might be their core source of income, but remaining would be other side income, which is enough for their sustenance. So because your business income is unstable, it might be seasonal, there might be days when you are, or months when you are making losses. So you need to have other source of income, right? So that's where you need to have other source of income or maybe other sources of income, which should take care of your daily expense, daily life, right? Your life should not change drastically if you leave a job. So that's what is important if you are thinking of making business. Unless you kind of tick off this checkbox, you are not ready for business. This is the most important part. Moving on, then come your saving. Do you have enough saving? So obviously, if you are from a rich family, you probably don't require that. Like a couple of days back, a person kind of messaged me in LinkedIn, and by his own admission, he is from an upper middle class family, and I think he's from a very rich family, not upper middle class. He's from a rich family. So his questions was like that. I feel this is good. I don't feel this is good. So his question was a bit under researched, and once again, when you come from a good background, you probably don't need to do all those research, because there is something that is, that you have a platform that can take care of your daily needs, right? So that is an advantage that you have. At the same time, if you can do your research, you can do your homework, then it is all the more better, right? So you need to have some reserve, which is other than your, the secondary source of income, right? This reserve should be sufficient for you to kind of sustain for maybe 1.5, 2 years, so that even if your secondary source of income does not deliver, then you are still kind of living your life, and living your life with some peace, some degree of peace. It will not be very peaceful, but you are living your life with some degree of peace. So some degree of saving is required, because who knows, something will happen. Probably you are married, maybe your wife falls sick, maybe you fall sick, maybe you have an accident, right? So if something happened to you, then you should have something which would take care of that expense, right? An emergency kind of emergency fund sort of thing, right? But your second, like I mentioned, your secondary source of income should be enough for your sustenance or your family's sustenance. And when I'm saying secondary source of income, it can be sources as well. Right? It can be multiple sources as well. Now, you should not touch your reserve until there is an emergency. And if you are touching your reserve, then you need to kind of cover for it, right? You need to, if you have probably taken 1 lakh from your reserve because of some unforeseen circumstances, then you need to kind of cover up for it. You need to earn from your secondary source of income or some other sources, and then put that 1 lakh back into reserve. Its reserve should not be touched, right? Reserve should be kept as it is until unless you get to that level when your business is doing sufficient well for you, right? So these are the two very primary conditions that you need to have: secondary source of income or multiple source of income other than your business income, and a saving, once again, that can be your family wealth, which you have, and that's why you are taking the risk. You need to have some platform to meet some emergency expense, right, for you or for your family. Then comes the most important part, which we call mindset, right? So most people have ideas, great ideas, and they cannot succeed because they lack the mindset. The moment they see something tough, and they just give up, right? Especially happen with people who have never seen failure, who have done academically very well, who have maybe cleared IIT, IIMs, etc., and then they have never failed in their life. They think that business can be done with equal ease, but the moment they hit a roadblock, they don't know what to do because they have never failed in their life. So that's where this thing comes into picture, which is mindset, right? So you must be maybe ahead of your time or behind your time. Your idea might be very good, but it is so good that current generation of people do not relate to it. Or it might be a very good idea 10 years back, but right now there are other alternatives which are better, right? So you have to, you cannot be afraid to fail, because it can happen either ways, right? Your idea might be too good or too bad, right? So it can happen, it can go both ways. Right? And this, I believe, is the most important mindset. Can you accept negative feedback? And because I have seen many people who are very good, they are very talented, but they cannot accept negative feedback. They just can't handle criticism. In fact, I can tell you, all this business which we are going to go through, all this idea was given to me by someone with whom I have worked in AIG, and she kind of put this idea that this was all this thing that I'm doing currently. This was her idea with some I obviously modified some bit of it, but when she was criticized for something, she was not able to handle that feedback, right? And like right now we are maybe for the last couple of years we are not in talking terms, because I criticized her for something and she was not able to, which was for her own benefit, but she was not able to take that feedback. Well, she always criticized me, and I was able to, kind of take that feedback constructively and made those changes inside me. So I believe that I benefited from her feedback, but she was not able to benefit from mine, and she always kept blocking me and then unblocking me. So, and that's the way it has happened. So I believe that she was very talented, much more talented than I am, or maybe I was. Right now, I might be more talented than my previous version, right? But I feel that she could have done a lot better than she has achieved in her life. And the only reason was she was not able to accept negative feedback. Something that I have seen with females, they are unable to accept negative feedback as compared to male. I don't want to make a sexist comment here, right? It's not a journalist statement. It's just something that I've observed. Females have difficulty in accepting feedback as compared to males. And that's why probably you'll see that males dominate the world because of this reason, right? However, one of my partner you'll see later on is female, and she is very good. That is the quality that I appreciate most about her. Whenever I think that she's not correct, I tell that to her, and if she kind of evaluates it, and if she can take that feedback, that's up to her, right? But it's very important to accept that you can be wrong, and it's very important to give yourself the opportunity to be wrong. Otherwise, if you're rigid to think that you are always correct, then you are going to create some problem for yourself, right? So that's where most important part of the mindset kind of is captured. That is, I made a video on psychology, and I can go very deep on this subject, but I don't want to do it here. It's the concept of self love versus self awareness. That is why I mentioned that females are somehow kind of not that accept do not have that acceptance towards negative feedback, is because most of them believe in self love, and because that is how our society is kind of structured. It's very male driven, very patriarchal, and that there is a psychological reason for that. But because of that, because most of the females believe in self love, they kind of have this difficulty in accepting negative feedback. Whereas only a person who is self aware, who is aware of his or her strength, weakness, right? Only that person can practice self love. So self love is a very destructive thing. It's a double edged sword. It can work either ways. It can benefit you. It can also kind of harm you. And I don't want to go into detail of that. However, if you want to maybe understand more about self love and self awareness, I have another channel called Blue Dragon Trading, and you can go to the channel. There will be a psychology playlist there, and there you can see self love versus self awareness. And there I made a video on why a person who is self kind of driven by self love would not be a successful trader, whereas a person who is kind of self aware would be a kind of a good trader, right? And like I mentioned, very few get it right the first time, because you are creating a business, you don't know whether your idea will work or not. So if your idea do not work, you need to have the mindset to adjust your ideas. You need to receive the negative feedback, right? And you need to adjust the ideas, right? Try multiple times now, keep on trying multiple things based on feedback, right? Like I can share one of the feedback that is shared to me for the courses that we have launched is, can you add a button of 10-second before and 10-second after that? So I am trying to kind of, because I created my own website, I developed my own websites. I'm in the process of learning. It's not something that I can do it right away, but it's something that I hope that I can do it in some time, right? So I have to kind of add those button 10-second up and 10-second down. Now, if you ask me, I would probably see a video at a stretch, because most of my videos would max length of the video would be 90 minutes, where we are solving questions, right? I'm talking from actual behalf, and from trading point of view, I think there will be it will probably hardly be 30 minutes, right? So I believe when I'm seeing a video, I should see it completely without skipping, without moving here and there. But that might be something which is relevant to me, but I can't expect other to follow what I do, right? So if that is a feedback, I feel that is an important feedback, and that should be incorporated in the courses that we have built, in the video player that we have created, right? So we need to add that button. How we can add that button right now is beyond me. But I have created the website. I've learned the process of creating the website. So that is also something that I can learn, right? And once again, when I can learned that when I become master of creating website, we can launch our own service of creating website for others. We can maybe also teach that as and launch that as a course. So there's a multiple things that you can do when you learn something, when you master something. So you have to keep on trying multiple things, and that's why we are very open to feedback. Like if you have purchased our course from Blue Dragon Universe, by the way, the link is description. SS7, CP2, CP3, and SP2 are live right now. And at the end of this presentation, you'll also see what we are planning for future. So you can purchase those courses, and if you already have purchased those courses, if you have any feedback for me, for the team, you can go to the website. The link is in the description, and you can write a mail to the contact us section. Right. I also do doubt clearing sessions on Saturday and Sunday, but these days I believe that I've done a very good job because nobody shows up. Right. Only during CP2 exam people showed up, but after that I always had those sessions, but nobody shows up. So I hope that I've done a very good job so that people do not have any doubts. But in case you have doubt, in case you have any questions, any feedback, please do write to us by going to the contact us section. There is an email ID called admin@bluedragonuniverse.in. You can write mail to us about the feedback. So feedback is very, very important, right? Especially when you're starting a business, and see what competitors are doing, right? And how what you are doing is kind of giving you an edge over the computer, or whether the computer is having edge over you, right? So this is very important. Is there any hidden need that you are not meeting? Because most people would not be able to tell about that need, right? As for example, I can give you an example. Like in YouTube, I have felt like most of them, like even in this video, I'm not showing my face, right? Because I like to record it like that, without sometime without maybe shower, sometime just maybe just sitting in front of the screen in a clumsy manner. I don't want to kind of get ready to record a video, but I feel that that is sometime that gives that sense of connect with the audience. So maybe a few days or few months later, I'll be starting to record videos of me, and there will be a small section in this presentation where there will be a video. I personally feel that that does not add any value. You are benefited by the content, right? But I have seen audiences of channels other than mine where they are, or maybe YouTubers who are sharing their videos, and their channel is doing well. So that is something that might be a hidden need, right? People do not know, but people actually enjoy that, right? So you have to kind of understand those hidden needs, right? And sometimes customer is not always correct, and sometimes you might take feedback from the customer. They might direct you in the wrong direction. Like a few of the feedbacks also I've got. I'm not going to name those or maybe give out those feedback. But after we have discussed, we realize that these are feedbacks which are for a specific person who is not kind of wanting to do some work on his own, who wants to kind of teaspoon fed, to be very honest. So that's where I felt that these are feedbacks which I cannot kind of cannot take. Obviously we have to evaluate those feedback, and as I mentioned, we have to give ourselves the opportunity to be wrong. And then even if we feel that this feedback is not relevant to us, then you cannot take all the feedback that the customer gives. Otherwise, different people, different thought process, different feedback, your business would not have a standard core value. It will fluctuate, and nobody likes anything that fluctuates, right? It's difficult on eye. If you see a tube light fluctuate, same thing happens for business. If it keep on fluctuating, then you would not be able to trust that, right? So that's what has been kind of mentioned here. Then is current income level. So once you have all these parameters in place, the next step would be, what is your secondary income source enough to replace your current income, like the other income sources, right? Is that enough, and how long will it take for the current income to replace your older income? Here in current income, I am also including the business income. So business income or any other secondary source of income, all combined, how much time will it take to replace the older income that you are previously kind of generating, right? Maybe the older income might be your salary income. Now you must have a timeline for it, right? So you must give yourself time. Yeah, obviously, maybe like for example, in my case, I was in a high-paying job. It's impossible for me to kind of generate that salary with just switching from switching from a stable job to a business income. So I need to have a timeline for it. But by that timeline, I should be able to cross that level and do much beyond that level, right? And also fix some target percentage for myself, because maybe if I'd be working there, I'd be getting promoted by that time, right? So I need to kind of target something which is higher than my the previous bronze salary level, and there should be a timeline for it. If I'm not doing it well, then it's probably better to go back to the salary, right? Or go back to the job. And you must delegate work. This is something that I've seen, and it's also very difficult to do, because at when you are starting, you want to do everything yourself so that you don't sacrifice on the quality. But in doing so, you are actually making your other partners or other employees weaker if you are doing it yourself. And if something happens to you, then your entire business collapses. That's a key man risk. You should not keep that risk. As an actuary, you should not keep that risk. So you should focus on increasing the income, and you might need to spend, as for example, we might give away the video editing part to someone else, to some other vendor, right? That is because that will reduce my work for editing the videos, and probably the quality of the videos would be much better, right? There might be some sound like you see that something entering, something going out, right? Maybe more professional videos, which are more engaging for the audience. So we need to, obviously you need to know that, but if you delegate it, it might give you opportunity to do more quality or more core work, and you should focus on that. Your job is to increase the income and not to reduce the expense, right? So spend wisely, but in doing so, you should be able to increase your income level, right? So that is what you should be focused on. Accepting that you have failed. Now, it is very important to give yourself a time by which you should accept that you have failed, right? Because you cannot go infinitely for something. And if you have failed, then you should go back to maybe something what you are doing, or try something new. But you have to accept, yeah, this I have tried, but this I have not succeeded, right? And this is how life is. There are n number of things. If I count in my life, I failed much more as compared to the times I have succeeded, but people know me for my success, right? So it is okay to fail, right? And like they say, failure is the failure of success, provided you truly know the reason of your failure, right? That is the portion that they hide, they do not tell you, right? So you need to know why you have failed, and once you figure that out, you can do very well. So that's why you might be, you might be trying to cater to an audience who is not, no, who may not like your idea, right? Like I mentioned, your idea might be quite modern, and the current generation might not be ready for it, right? So you need to give yourself that time that, yeah, you have failed or you have succeeded, right? So that is very, very important. And most people, when they start business, they are only thinking about success, but that's not how you should be thinking. As an actuary, you should be thinking about risk management, and this is the ultimate risk, right? So this is a possibility, and you have to consider all the possibilities. That's why in higher papers, you have to consider all the possible scenarios while writing the answer. This is exactly what actually teaches. You have to consider all the possibilities. Cannot be all the positive thinking, like they say that positive thinking, think positive, but as an actuary, you have to also have to think negative along with the positive things, right? Because thinking positive is what average person would do. And as an actuary, there are only 500 qualified actuaries in India. You have to be better than average, right? So you have to consider multiple scenarios, right? And one of those scenarios would be also failure, right? So you cannot only look at success. You have to give yourself the time to kind of get to that success level. If you have not achieved that success level by that point of time, you should consider that you have failed, and you should move on to different things in life. Also need your plan B. Suppose you have failed, what would you do, right? If you do not have plan B, then it is not a business. And I can tell you, this is what makes a business a business. If you have a plan B, most people tell, or I have seen motivational videos saying that you should not have any plan B, and you should always, or you should be hell bent or focused on this. I think that is a very wrong way of putting something. Obviously, you should be focused on something that you have taken the plunge to, right? But you need to have a plan B, because if you do not have a plan B, your family, or maybe your wife, your kids, or your husband, they are going to pay the price for that. So you need to have a plan B. Plan B is an absolute must, and that is your final and ultimate risk management. That is what is taught by actuary. And if you do not have plan B, then you are not, you are just a gambler. You are not a businessman. So you need to have a plan B, and you also need to understand how quickly you can execute your plan B before your reserve run out. Because if you have failed, chances are that you have to tap on your reserve, right? And if you have to tap on your reserve, it will run out because it's a fixed sum of money, right? So you have to kind of understand how quickly you can execute your plan B, right? And that might be going back to your previous job, right? Or that might be going back to what you were doing before, or maybe joining back your family business. But you have to determine the timeline for that, and you have to understand how quickly you can that can be executed if such a situation arises, right? And you need to think over that, because if you are only thinking about the rosy picture, like I mentioned, you are just a gambler, you are not a businessman, right? So these are the steps, this is the summary. Another source of income, that is the first important point that you need to have other than business income, right? Then the saving, that is your reserve. You are not afraid to fail, and this is where the feedback come into picture, right? And based on the feedback, you need to try multiple things multiple times, and maybe one of the time you'll get it right, and that will hit with your audience or your customers, right? Can your current income be replaced? How quickly your current income level will be replaced from all these different sources? How quickly your current income level can be replaced, and how long to say you have failed? Most people do not think about this because they try to think positively, and because of that, they are doing gambling. And I can tell you, 70% of the business fail. They never see that light. I mean, they just do some business, and then after that, the entrepreneur are just not going to accept that they have failed, and they kept on doing that, and they can use that time in a much better manner in something else. But because of the rigidness, because of the inability to take the feedback, like I mentioned here, right? They never kind of get to the other business which probably they could have done, and they could have done it very well. So now I can give you a couple of examples from my life, because I also started this in this year only, right? So first of all, there are multiple triggers. Now I'm not going to go into the details of those triggers. I think this is not the video for that. But I have a couple of triggers from my job, right? And a couple of friends also, kind of supported me, and also few of them also lent some money to me. And most importantly, there are many people who trusted me. The person who left the job because I was kind of doing this business, and I was supposed to leave the job. This kind of trust is very, very, kind of important, right? That will give you a lot of confidence that, yeah, if someone is leaving their job because you would not be there in that company, then that shows a lot of trust towards you. And you know, you will not get too many people in life like that, but once you get couple of those, right, keep them with you, right? So that is those are the triggers that I got, and I felt that, yeah, this is the right time for me to get a job. And that can be your trigger, can be an idea. For me, I'm an emotional person, so I believe that my trigger would always be emotional, right? So until unless I get some emotional trigger, I'll not do something, right? I had to feel it, and I had to be very kind of like, yeah, I had to feel it. Until unless I would not be kind of taking a plunge on something, because I do something very, very seriously. If I don't feel or feel passionate about it, maybe that is the right word, then I would probably not be doing it. Then I was most people I've seen, they start business because they are not doing well in their current job. They want to quit their 9 to 5 job or whatever, because there is a stigma associated with, because 9 to 5 jobs are not good. So if you are not doing well in your current job, chances are very, very rare that you'll be doing well in your business, right? Because there might be some reason for which you are not doing well in your current job. So I was doing very well in my current job, and in fact, had I not, maybe quit, I would probably be promoted maybe once or twice by this time, right? Because I also obtained my fellowship after I left my job. So I was doing pretty well, right? And that was not the concern. It's not that I was not doing well in my job, that's why I have to quit, right? So I think if you are not doing well in your job, you should not think of maybe quitting, because that is one feedback that you're ignoring, right? If you are not doing well in your job, maybe that job might have some problem, might have bad manager, etc. You might need to try it with some other company, right? So switch your job, change your job, go to another company, but you should do well in that company. If in every company you have some issue, then probably it's your attitude that is the problem and not the company, right? So you have to kind of uh, do very well in your job so that you can quit the job, right? So that is very, very important. And that's what I felt that I was doing. I learned another skill. So while I was writing essay 2 paper, which is a legendary paper, which I was kind of stuck and still stuck in that paper, although I completed my fellowship, but that is in a different paper, right? So I in that 2 years in which I was kind of stuck in essay 2, I learned another skill which was trading. I initially made some loss, then I recovered the amount and I turned profitable around last year October, around that time, September, October. And when I turned profitable, that gave me the confidence that yeah, I have another source of income, right? So it's not that I have to kind of only rely on my reserve. It's that I can use this source of income as well, right? So that gave me the first point, that impetus, right? The first point impetus, other than the emotional trigger, that yeah, I have a secondary source of income. I can use that, right? And I also consider 3 scenarios. Once again, I right now maybe some time later I can share what are those 3 scenarios that I've considered, because those are personal and I don't want to share it right now. I consider 3 scenarios, and all of those suggested leaving job would be more profitable for me. Right? So that is where I did my analysis, right? And I know that yeah, this is the right time to leave the job, right? Now, my YouTube channel also grew slowly and it's still growing slowly. It's not growing at a fast pace. And mind you, I don't earn anything from the YouTube. So it has not made the criteria yet. But I hope maybe next 1 year I'll be earning. And for that is the reason I ask you to like, share, subscribe, see the entire video. So that is very important. I saw a need which I can cater to by, and mostly that came by interviewing people, interviewing freshers or experienced people. I saw that they're very poor in their knowledge, actual knowledge, although they've cleared papers. From where I coined this term for paper, actually, that is something that I never gave that much importance. I was casually using the term, and then that term became a sort of a thing, right? So I felt that there is a big gap, and the coaching centers that are operating even right now, they themselves don't have the knowledge or the workings, right? And they call few people who are from the industry. In fact, I have got several invitations like that from coaching center. I have not gone there, right? But you know they want experienced people to come and kind of teach, because they do not have the experience themselves, right? They just teach you to pass the exam, and unfortunately, for an actuary, that is the most basic requirement. And unfortunately, what is basic for us would be very, very kind of more than basic for the rest of the world. But as I mentioned, actuaries are better than the average, right? So that's why what would be basic for us would not be basic for the rest of the world. And that's why this idea is propagated that you have to clear papers, but clearing paper is just the very basic, and you don't get anywhere just by clearing papers. So that is the need that I saw, and I felt that this is where I can add a lot of value, right? And competition was in lower papers, so I also looked at the competition. I saw that everyone is kind of teaching the lower papers. That's where the concept lies, and that's where the concept is getting screwed up, to be very honest. But I saw that the competition is in lower paper. So why would I start with lower paper? Also, lower papers are empirical. They were subject to change in April 24. So I should be starting lower paper at a later point of time. So I thought, let me start with SP2 and whatever papers I cleared, right? SS7, right? And CP2, CP3. So these are practical papers. These are the things that I used to do every day in my life: the communication, the presentation, the modeling part, right? So all of those are comes natural to me because I was doing that day in and day out. That's where I spent my 12 years or 11 and a half years of working. So I felt that this is something that very easy for me to create, and then I created that, right. So that's how I started, kind of creating the course. That was my thought process. So obviously, for lower papers will come into, slowly will get there, and obviously from April 24, our lower paper courses will start. Right, I stayed in job for 7 months while having this idea of quitting the job, and I also communicated that to my manager so that he also don't get into much trouble, because I was handling a lot of projects, and also that helped me to get the bonus, get those salary for 7 months, right? And I was also in the 4.5 year mark, so I got gratuity also, which I did not expect, right? So had I stayed longer, because you cannot predict those things, but I would have gotten even more money for clearing fellowship and becoming a fellow there. But these are things that you can't predict. So I believe that I kind of amassed a good saving, so that I can start, maybe have that capital to kind of start my own trading. I also, in that same time, I was kind of changing my trading strategy. I also incurred a lot of loss, but then I developed a better strategy, and which I can scale up and up and go beyond my salary at a certain point of time, right? And I'm already doing that. In fact, last month was the first month that I covered my salary on a gross basis, not on a net basis, though, right? So I'm going to get there, and hopefully I'll be there, right? So that is an important thing that I can rely upon, right? Because I had some savings, which was my reserve, and also that also gave me the capital so that I can, you know, earn money for myself. Right. I also got two more partners. I don't want to name them, but obviously there are two more partners. One is looking after marketing, another is also an actuary, and he or she is also supposed to create courses whenever he or she gets involved into it. Right. So I personally feel that, like I mentioned, if people are, people respect you or love you that much, then they should be in your team. And I could have started this company on my own. I need not give any share to anyone, because for this company I am the face. You know this company because of me. In fact, the name that is given to this company is my nickname. So that's how it is, right? But I always feel that you should have people in your team who love you and respect you that much. If someone leaves the company for you, then that person should be your partner, right? So that's how I plan that. And because you are starting this for the first time, you don't know anything about the business and how to appoint auditors, CA, company secretary, etc., how every department will work, how the provident fund will work, how the salary will be created. If you don't know all of this, right, it's better to have two more people with whom you can discuss, right? So that's why, obviously, if I create another company, then probably I will not need partners, right, after a point of time. But maybe in my first company, you will obviously need partners, and also it depends on their performance, right? How they are kind of coping up with the pressure, how they are adding value to this, right? That depends on them as well. So this is the timeline that I've defined, 4-year timeline to succeed. I have a thought process, I have a number, and I wanted to cater to that many people. Obviously, I'm going to bring the actual courses, trading courses, coding, AI, artificial intelligence, etc. Maybe by end of 3 years, all our courses would be there, right? And then it will be just doubt clearing and changing things here and there. I don't want to open a physical center. I believe that this is the future online, and maybe do it yourself kind of thing, once, and whenever you have doubt, obviously you can reach out to us and we'll solve that doubt. So I believe in that methodology, right? And once again, that is my idea. It might not be correct, right? But for that reason, we have this feedback mechanism. We are expecting that people will give us feedback, and that will help us get better, right? And even right now, we have not done any promotions or marketing. We have just, maybe I've made a couple of post on LinkedIn or maybe an YouTube videos, that we have not spent a single rupee in advertising. We have not raised any fund, which we can do very easily, right? Because we have that qualification, background, etc. So once we start doing that, uh, we'll get bigger and bigger. But the thought process is, first we need those feedback, which is important. Like I was kind of telling at the middle of this video, like please share your feedback if you purchase a course, right? So that we can get better, right? The idea is to create a proprietary course based on actually AI trading and filter candidates. So this would be maybe a 6 months course, right? And I believe that interview is a flawed process of kind of selecting a person or not selecting a person, because in 30 minutes you cannot judge a person. And I've seen that if you work with that person, or if you be in regular touch with that person for maybe 3 to 6 months, then you get a fair idea whether that person is good, or whether that person has any attitude issue, whether that person can do things on their own or rely too much on you. You can have a basic idea of that about that person. It will take at least 3 to 6 months. 30 minutes interview does not give you any real picture. So that's why I believe that there should be a proprietary course which will be called the Blue Dragon course, and it should be around maybe 6 to 8 months long. And people who are kind of doing that course would have that credentials or the strength, so that they can be employed here which I wanted to create. Now, this would be a company which I would be maybe the sole owner, where I'll be kind of creating a hedge fund or proprietary trading or investment bank. Right now, I don't have the idea about regulations, how easy it is to create such companies in India, what is the funding requirement, etc. And I need to show some, maybe performance level before uh, creating this. But idea is to select actually so that we also generate job for the actual student, right? Those people who are getting trained here, instead of saying that you will be hired by HDFC Life or SBI Life or maybe Sun Life, we can give them job. Only those who are deserving, right? And that's why we need to create a proprietary course so that they get trained by us. We understand that these are the candidates who are suitable for us. Spend 3 to 6 months with them, and once they get to that level, we can employ them for us. Because if once, like I mentioned, if you see a good person, if you see a person who is responsible, why would you let go of those person? And that is the best way to judge a person like that. If you have a course where that person is in touch with you for 3 to 6 months, right? So that's my kind of thought process, and that's where I'm trying to go. Maybe in next 2 years, obviously, we'll create all the courses for actuary and trading and AI, and see which people are purchasing those, how they are kind of uh, questioning us based on they should there. Obviously, there is no place for spoon feeders there, right? So a person who is responsible, who is doing their homework and then asking us the question, which is also making me think on how I can improve my courses or how I can improve my own knowledge. Those are the people who would be hired by us, right? So that the people who are coming to our coaching center, they are also getting employed by us. Not all of them, but some of them, right? And those who are not willing to work in that domain, they can maybe work in the insurance sector, because I did a poll and everyone was interested in joining a hedge fund or investment, right? And these are the things that I got queries about. But I know the thought process is that whether we can create that alternate field for them, and the only way I can do that if I show some performance for maybe 2 years, maybe 50% return for you know the remain then next 2 years, then only I can obtain that funding maybe from some HNIs or NRIs, right? So that I have a big fund and I can work on the market, right? And those big fund can use to hire actual students, because I believe actual students are the smartest in out of all the academics, and they can contribute a lot of value in growing a hedge fund. Because right now this fund or banks do not use actuaries; they use MBA graduates, but they are yet to see the power of actuaries, and I believe that Blue Dragon universe can show them the power of actuaries. So that's it. I think that's how I kind of thought of, and I created my own venture. So these are the, like I mentioned, these are our upcoming kind of offering. Sparkle One, which is our attempt first to breach the knowledge gap between the papers and the freshers. So that is Sparkle One. Then Axis Actual Software, we are launching a course on mid of November. All these are left to my marketing partner when they do that. SP1 December first week. That will finish our this year. I mean Jan to December. I am not considering the financial. This year of financial, the actual courses. Then we have Excel Intermediate Advanced, VB Intermediate Advanced, SQL Intermediate Advanced, and for R, I don't believe Advanced is good, because for that Python should be better. Should not know too much in R, because R is not used that much, right? Python is the most widely used language, but R is required for CS1, and in some general insurance company also R is required, right? I was in experience studies team in AIG, R was used there. I was using R at a good level there, right? So these are very important softwares that you need to know, and then we'll slowly from the June onwards, June 24 onwards, we'll go with artificial intelligence, Python, right? So for those, this knowledge would be very important. Like SQL would be very important if you want to do something in data science or in artificial intelligence, because that is where you're getting the data. Right? So those are very, very important things. I do not have a deadline for this, but it will be launched. All of this would be launched between maybe Jan to April sort of time in the next year, right? And then we'll start with the lower papers, as I mentioned. The lower papers are undergoing some syllabus change. So CS1, CM1 by April 24, and these are the papers where we need to also handhold a bit, right? So unlike our other papers where we have recorded a course and we are doing the doubt solving, because those are higher papers. I believe people who have reached that level would have that mental maturity. But when you are at CS1, CM1 level, you are just starting out. So these would be papers where we'll be probably conducting live classes with students, right? Over Zoom, or yeah, few of those might also be done physically. Right? So see, for only for CS1, C1, because here people lack that mental maturity, right? They are just starting, and this will start in April 24, and slowly all the lower papers will capture. Will also have someone who has good knowledge in general insurance to create, general insurance, subjects. And like I mentioned, Sparkle one actually a plan for four Sparkles, depending on how the feedback or how the purchase happens for Sparkle one. Because if people are not interested, why should we bother creating too many courses like that? But if people are interested, then why not, right? So we have four Sparkle planned. Sparkle one is obviously the the basis of it, right? If you want to purchase Sparkle two, you have to purchase Sparkle one, right? Otherwise, there is no sense, and it will be priced very decently. And by that time, I hope that there will be several courses on trading. In fact, by probably by May 24 or June 24, I plan to finish everything, every course in trading. Right. So I hope anyone who is kind of interested in that can purchase that. And then, as I mentioned, a full-fledged course of 6 months would be created, combining actuary trading, artificial intelligence, so that a person who can do that probably get hired by us, right? So that's it. If you have any question, you can write in the comment section. Please share this video with a friend. If you are thinking of starting a business, I believe that these are the points you should think. I also showed you what was my thought process, right? And yeah, that's it, right? I hope you enjoyed this video. You have learned something from this video. Please hit the like button, share, subscribe. See you in future videos.